mortals, dare you to enter into the Lich's lair?
The Lich's
Wait,
lair.
we're not back. We're not back. We're back now.
We're in the Lich's lair. I did a mwaha that none of you will ever hear. So, welcome to the Lich's lair. This is a segment of the show where players, members of the community, or anyone who has a piece of content that they think is ready to go, they think that this is something that is polished and of a quality that is, worthy of, if not published content, then at least of a quality equivalent to that of like the Unearthed Arcana content that we see for Wizards of the Coast. And our brave contestant today on the Lich's Lair is Jeremy.
Yeah, frankly, this is the kind of content we call that good shit.
Jeremy's got Jeremy sounds very confident coming into the Lich's Lair today, as we're going to be going over his otherworldly patron, the Great Tree, and we're going to rate it, going through our rubric, which we discussed earlier on the show, and we'll talk about it again as we're going through it. But we're just going to undergo the harshest, the most intense possible scrutiny as we look at the Great Tree patron that Jeremy has put together. Normally, me and Jeremy do these together, but when one of us has content, there's often who watches the watcher, so it's just us oftentimes kind of just discussing what we think about our own content and stuff like that. So we really encourage you guys in chat. You guys are also a lich at times like this. So let us know your thoughts as you're going through as well, and what you think of the Great Tree patron. So without further ado, Jeremy, I have two questions for you. The first of which is, would you like to read the Great Tree, or would you like me to read it?
Oh, Pete, I would love to read the Great Tree.
Excellent. And then my other question is, do you want to tell us anything about it before we go into it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I'm on the other side of the spectrum this time. Last time I was the Lich reviewing Pete's Satyr race option, and I was maybe a little strict with that, given how good it was compared to the actual Raider race option from Theros. So hopefully Pete has learned from my mistakes and will be kind to me with my other.
Of course I will, Jeremy.
So yeah, let's talk right off the bat. I'm gonna be frank. I had a lot of issues with this boy. Oh my God, chat wants blood. A lot of issues with this subclass from a space perspective. Actually, I kept running into walls where I was like, oh my God, this is really horning in on the Oath of the Ancients Paladin in terms of from like a flavor perspective. And then I ran into other issues where it's like, well, this is sort of mechanically tying close to the Undying patron, but like in the end, I think I found a nice compromise where I'm really not, I'm totally different flavor aesthetically from the Undying Warlock and the Undying Court. And I think that I've hit enough of a difference for the Paladin, hopefully. We'll see. Yeah, I'm very excited. Let's talk through it. So by the way, this is our new format for our stuff. We're trying to really pretty stuff up and make it a little more professional looking. So let us know your thoughts on this very nice content I've put together too. But yeah, I'll start. The Great
Jeremy did a great
Tree.
job on the aesthetics of this. Looks beautiful.
So this is obviously a Warlock patron for the Warlock and 5th Edition Dungeons and Dragons, and this is the first pass. I put this guy together in the last day. The Great Tree. You have made a pact with a profound manifestation of life, often but not always taking the form of a gargantuan tree. In the world of Toril, the Tree of Life in Tethir, or the Tree of Souls in Evermeet could be great trees. In the 9 worlds of Norse mythology, Yggdrasil is such a great tree. However, in the world of Athos, a hidden oasis pool nurturing life in the great sand wastes could be a great tree as well. Your pact with the Great Tree is one of protection, to safeguard life against that which would threaten it. As the cycle of life is never ending, so too is your pact. The great tree grants you grants you life everlasting, reincarnating you upon your eventual death. While your personality is retained upon reincarnation, your memories are often lost. Lifetimes of reincarnation can change a person, shaping their perspective on life and acceptance of death. Expanded spell list. All warlocks get
Can we stop there, actually?
Yeah.
That's not the direction that I thought this was going to go.
Yeah, I know. Weird, right? Very different direction than maybe you thought.
That's all.
I like the format. It is literally just straight out of Xanathar's Guide to Everything, but our stuff.
That's all I wanted to say about it. That's just not when I heard a great tree, the focus on kind of death and
wanted it. Sorry, go ahead.
Death and resurrection. It sounds like is not the direction I thought.
I really wanted it to not feel like a druid. Because again, I really ran into that issue with the space for this, and I really wanted to make it work. Anyway, let's keep moving. Expanded spell list. The Great Tree lets you choose from an expanded spell list when you learn a warlock spell, as all warlock subclasses do. And the spells that are added to your spell list are Animal Friendship and Goodberry at first level.
Cool.
At second level, Enhance Ability and Healing Spirit. At third level, Aura of Vitality and Speak with Plants. At fourth level, Aura of Life and Aura of Purity. At fifth level, Dispel Evil and Good, and Legend Lore.
Really into those fifth level spells.
I am as well, especially the Dispel Evil and Good, and I've tried to weave that in a little bit throughout. So at first level, you get your 1,000 lives pact. At first level, when you gain this feature, when you would die and your body is buried, cremated, or otherwise returned to the earth, you are reincarnated as though by the reincarnate spell. You appear in a wilderness location of your DM's choice in 1d10 days, lose all memory of your current life, and start anew.
Whoa.
That's a funky one.
Give me a second with that before you go on to take it in myself.
All that feature is when your character dies, the character's technically not dead. They're just not a character, not a player character any longer.
All right. Cool. Please continue.
Also at first level, because you need a real feature, Memory of 1,000 Lifetimes. When you gain this feature at first level, you learn to tap into the fleeting memories of your past lives, gaining skill and knowledge in times of great need. When you make an attack roll or ability check, you can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to the result. You can wait until after you roll the d20 before deciding to roll the d4, but must do so before the Dungeon Master says whether the roll succeeds or fails. When you use this feature on an attack roll against an aberration, undead, or construct, the d4 becomes a d6 instead.
I like construct.
I do as well. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your charisma modifier minimum once, and you gain all uses expended uses when you finish a short rest. You want me to continue?
Yeah, keep going.
6th level, a life sense. Starting at 6th level, you can open your awareness to the spirit of life within all things. As an action, you can sense the presence of small or larger creatures within 60 feet of you. You learn the size category and direction relative to you of any detected creature. This sense can penetrate most barriers, but is blocked by 1 foot of stone, 1 inch of common metal, a thin sheet of lead, or 3 feet of wood or dirt. And once you use the feature, you cannot use it again until you finish a short or long rest.
Cool.
Shall I? Okay.
I'm good on that. Give me this next one.
Primeval protections. Beginning at 11th level, you gain protections against the toxins, both natural and otherworldly, that would threaten life. You have resistance to necrotic and poison damage, and are immune to disease. Nice and simple, that one.
Yeah, nice easy one. Looks like we got a weighty feature to round things out here. So let me hear the capstone.
Pun intended, I imagine. Weight of Ages.
Well, again, not. I've had a lot of those today.
A lot of those accidental puns. By the time you have reached 14th level, and you can bring to bear the cosmic energies of creation and destruction. As a bonus action, you can channel these energies in a 30-foot radius vortex centered upon you that moves with you and lasts for 1 minute. As a reaction, when a creature starts its turn within the vortex or enters the vortex for the first time on a turn, you can force the creature to make a Constitution saving throw. On a failure, the creature suffers 3d6 force damage, and another creature within the vortex of your choice regains hit points equal to half the amount of force damage dealt. Undead, aberrations, and constructs have disadvantage on this saving throw. Once you use this bonus action, you cannot use it again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a 5th level spell slot to use it again.
Wow, the Uno reverse card.
Additionally, the first time after gaining this feature that you would be reincarnated through your 1,000 Lives Pacts feature, you retain all memories of your current life. Each time that you are reincarnated in this way thereafter, there is a cumulative 33% chance that you lose all memory of your current life and start anew.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Originally, I had that at first level, and then I was like, well, I can't have them reincarnating for free at first level with guaranteed... I'll run into some problems validating that in my brain. But yeah,
all right.
there we go.
All right, let's start looking at this bad boy. You got some cool stuff in here. Again, like, this was not what I thought when you told me it was a great tree patron. This was very much not the expectation I had for what a great tree patron would be like.
Yeah, I was also super trying to avoid anything like super Fae focused, because Archfey is a patron already.
Yeah, and that has...
I was dodging a lot of... I was in bullet hell with this one.
That has a very... that has a very naturey... not naturey, it has a very, like, charm and kind of whimsy vibe, which I think is something that you could go in that direction for this, but... there's a lot of comments in chat I see popping off. I'll circle back around and read through the chat logs in a moment. I want to talk to Jeremy about it for a second first before we do that. So we're going to look at this in the context of the rubric. The first thing that I think is this seemed like your biggest goal, and I think you definitely accomplished it, which is the space point, which is this thing is unlike anything else in Dungeons & Dragons, unmistakably. There's definitely space for this kind of reincarnation and life beyond death. I see you had kind of doubled into it with the like the necrotic resistance. I like the phrase, you gain protection against the toxins, both natural and otherworldly, that threaten life. I really liked that under Primeval Protections. And I think that did a good job of, like, I wasn't, like, fully, like, that kind of explained the flavor of this to me a little bit. Because the flavor, one thing that is throwing me off, Jeremy, could you kind of explain to me what you think about when you think of the connection between the Great Tree and this, this life and death thing?
So the concept I was really going for here was, you know, in all sorts of different Dungeons & Dragons lore, right? Or not in Dungeons, fantasy lore, right? There's the big tree, and there are the sworn protectors of the big tree, right? It's everywhere. It exists everywhere. There's no getting around it. And I wanted this to be a subclass that could represent that, because most of the time, the sworn protectors of the big tree, right, they aren't your paladin running around with a great sword going, right? They aren't the druid who's just like, bro, it's just me and the tree. No, they're like the elves with the bows, right? They're more gritty, like they have this kind of almost darker look on things, despite the fact that they have this nice magic, wonderful natural magic. And, you know, my thought with it was, well, I actually started way more grandiose than it was currently. I had to dial the intensity super back to make this as simple as it was. Just from a concept, right, of you're just protecting nature, because originally this had like huge cosmic implications and whatnot. But to answer your question, which was where the life kind of reincarnation thing came along, is, well, the cycle of life, right? Things live, things die. It's the stuff that threatens that cycle is the bad stuff, and this manifestation of life wants to stop the bad stuff. So that's kind of the idea. Is I don't want to lose my fighters that stop the bad stuff. I want my fighters to stay alive, right? If the tree is the cycle of life, the tree can kind of break that a little bit. Kind of my. Did that make any sense? I think I might have just babbled in a circle there.
I think I know what you're going at here. The 1,000 Lives Pact, and then the re-reference to it at the end of Weight of the Ages. I think you thought of them this way, and I think I'm going to think of them the same way too, which is that those two features are actually kind of irrelevant in the balance of this class.
I think the first level is this one, like 1,000 Lives Pact, absolutely is. I mean, I see this as more of a cool tool for maybe a dungeon master to use if your character dies early. You know, here you can have a callback with that character, or hell, that character can show up but not know who you are and like save your ass someday as a cool NPC, and they're still the same character, right? And that's cool, right? Maybe they vaguely remember the party. That's kind of how I saw that, and I really wanted to make that. You know, when. Gosh, distraction. But when I made my genie warlock, and I saw Wizard's genie, which was all about the lamp, I wanted to pick a thing and make this class all about the thing. And in this case, I decided that reincarnation was kind of what I wanted to go for, right? Like, I saw this 1,000 Lives Pact almost like, you know, like the Avatar in Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Memory of 1,000 Lifetimes is almost kind of like that to a degree.
I definitely got that vibe to a certain extent.
Even the Weight of Ages, right, is like, it's the swirling vortex of power around you, right? It's the Avatar state bullshit, right? Like, I'm pulling a lot of these kind of inspirations from that concept, but just in a very different context than that show.
All right, cool.
So I guess that's what I wanted to make it about, is I guess the answer. No, I don't see them as particularly impactful, although I don't know, this last one kind of is. You get one freebie.
You get one reincarnate. And so we can talk about, to discuss, I think there's an obvious playability discussion that we'd want to have about the reincarnate spell. And that is that it changes the race, and that a lot of people would be into it. And I think my answer to that is obviously, don't play this then. It's so core and it's so like into the theme. Like, if you don't like reincarnation and the mechanics of reincarnation, then it just wouldn't be the thing that you would play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like Frosty was saying in chat, right? Most dungeon masters might homebrew the reincarnate list, and I totally, why not, right? V Bunny was saying that, you know, the spells could maybe be changed. I wasn't sure. I mean, I thought about some of those too, V Bunny, like Beast Bond, but I wanted the healing to be a big factor in this one in a way that's different than maybe the Celestial Warlock.
V Bunny, so you mentioned you had an issue with Healing Spirit because it was not a player's handbook spell.
I mean, it's definitely a criticism.
There's an argument for it. I
think they broke that convention, though.
Don't have an issue with that. I just think that as the game expands, that it's okay for homebrew to expand with it. I don't know. Healing Spirit's fine by me.
I did strongly consider those.
So
it's funny. I gave it Goodberry because my thought is, well, when he resurrects in the middle of the forest and has no memory of anything, he needs to live. That's the reason I gave him Goodberry at first level.
I think that I think that my biggest catching point on this is probably going to be the flavor point for me, and we'll talk about more of that later. And I think it's very important, these spell choices for me, because these spell choices are the things that are actually like keeping me grounded in the idea of a great tree. Like,
yes,
because the rest of it really actually doesn't really hit the tree stuff for me. Like I get the because it has this kind of more grandiose concept that it's working with of reincarnation and multiple lifetimes, and it being almost this like nexus of power. As I was reading it, and you're mentioning the thing about the grand sand wastes, I almost wanted to like recommend, what about like just like the Nexus or something like that, but then also that doesn't have that instant recognition that the Great Tree does.
Yeah, and maybe that's a very interesting point, because I consider that too. You know, maybe even if it were just a different name slightly, then, because in my write up I do talk about
Great trees.
Athos and how it's not like necessarily a tree. It's really a manifestation of life. Like, it is some profound manifestation of life, nexus of life. So maybe that would be a better name for it.
Yeah, and really that's one thing. It's just it just kind of is hitting me as weird, the idea of having something other than a tree as my patron with the Great Tree patron, Like, and if I was playing this, I would just have a tree patron. I would just have a big tree as my patron. But having the option for other stuff throws me a bit.
Yeah, I understand. I get where you're coming from. I grappled with the same kind of concerns, and I actually had a couple of different iterations of this with more tree-centric features. And the problem is, at that point,
were they coming out druid?
Yeah, you're really way too druid. Like you're just a druid with different abilities at that point.
So let's look at features. Memories of 1,000 lifetimes. It's cool. It's a cool name. I like the thing that it does. I like that it doesn't let you do it too frequently. And I also like the that it does it better against undead aberrations and constructs, which is a theme that you kind of went through without. The undead aberration construct thing, I'm actually very into, especially in the context of you are a guardian of life, and these are the things that are,
are weird.
Are weird. I don't know. I really like that theming. I don't know.
Yeah, I was so unsure.
Memories of 1,000 lifetimes works for me. And so I don't even know what else. It's good. Warlocks, especially for early level stuff on Warlocks, I like a recurring usage feature, because Warlocks get such a small amount of spell slots. Like, for example, an example of a feature that is kind of cool, but I just don't like, is the Archfey. You get to Charm and Fear one time. Like, yeah, it's a cool effect, but you just do it once, and then that's your whole thing, and now you're a Warlock that gets one spell slot at first level. Like, anyway, I like the recurring ability feature. Life Sense. Let me reread Life Sense. Because it's been a while.
Yeah. Let me, while you read it,
yeah.
I wanted to give an idea about, like, my concept for it, right? I've never played Skyrim, but I know that's one of the things you can do, is you can see through walls and see creatures or something. And I thought, I've heard players like want to do stuff like that and be disappointed that doesn't really exist in 5e. And I thought, well, this seems like a place to do it, right? Like, it makes sense. You know life and stuff. And so I wanted to take a very different direction on the classic, like, Eyes of the Grave, which is what the Grave Cleric gets, right? Oh, you see undead creatures if they're not behind total cover. So basically, this only matters if they're invisible, or if you're not sure if that body over there will come up and attack you, or if they're disguised, which is very rare. Or, the Paladin's Divine Sense, which is like, you sense fiends and undead if they're not behind cover. And I was a little disappointed with that. I thought this might be a more fun idea. It's like, there's something really big behind that door, guys.
I like this. I don't know. That's all. I like this as well. I would have fun using it. I almost want you to be able to use it more, I guess, is one feature about this, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of instances where you use this feature and it turns out there's nothing behind that door, and then you're kind of just like, oh, well, there goes my life sense, because you have it on just a 1 a day per short or long rest. How good do you see this feature as?
Not very, not particularly powerful. I was looking at a lot of what the other warlocks can get at 6th level, and the Hexblade, which is arguably the most powerful warlock, gets like an ultra situational. Well, maybe once or twice in this campaign, you're going to get to raise a Spectre as their feature, and the Fey warlock. What do they even get?
Is 6th
They get
level
Misty Escape?
is usually the defensive feature, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a one-action defensive feature typically. Actually, most of the warlocks features are defensive features. They typically also get them at 11th.
That's a half convention, I would say, and I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to go along with it. So it's not like I would have any issue with it.
Undying doesn't follow it. A couple of them don't. Yeah, I'm with you, Pete. I was also debating putting this as a charisma modifier uses. I was just getting worried about everything is number of charisma modifiers, and even beyond that. I mean, honestly, this did more stuff before, and I changed it. They get their features at 10, not 11. Oh, I goofed. Thank you, V Bunny, for the correction. If that's true, right?
Sounds pretty right to me. Jeremy, I almost think that you could just let people do this. Close. Maybe it's a little bit too good to just have it all the time, but I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, well, here's another way I would think about this. For the next minute, right?
Yeah, well, if you're going to do it this way, I think you could do it for the next minute and give it charges. I think you could even do both. I just don't think it's super powerful, and if you want to, have that fantasy of being able to sense things, then, nothing else can really do something like this, and I really like the idea of sensing life. That's a classic fantasy archetype. Yeah, I don't know. I just think more of this feature is my bottom line in some significant way, but I like the feature a lot. I really like what it does, and I would want to use Life Sense as a player. It's something that I'm really interested in.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It definitely needs more use cases than this. 10 minute to cast Ritual Life Sense. That one I'd be worried about, Frosty. I would be so worried about, guys, we're going to go into this next spooky room. Hold on. Gotta do the Life Sense.
I was actually thinking the exact same thing in my mind, Frosty, and I was kind of also trying to justify the thing that Jeremy just said and trying to be how could you make this you take some time and do it? Maybe there's even a 1 minute, you spend 1 minute focusing and you can sense life. Kind of like a faster version of Know Your Enemy, where you just, if you have been in a space long enough, you start to sense life.
Well,
I don't know.
This is a minor balance quirk I think we're discussing now, unless you consider this to be a major balance issue.
The details of it, no, we're good on this. Primeval protections, I don't think we even need to talk about. That's standard to give warlocks some kind of resistance at 11th level. This gives resistances that make a lot of sense. Any other thoughts on that one before we go? Also, like I said, I really love the phrase gain protections against the toxins, both natural and otherworldly, that threaten life.
Very good.
I have no doubt that you were feeling good about that one when you wrote it.
It's weird because, and I was very relieved when you mentioned that you liked the quip, a little change I had for aberrations, constructs, and undead up here, because I really didn't want that to be the core of this subclass. Is they're good against undead, aberrations, and constructs, but I wanted to tie in that these are unnatural things, and so the Great Tree doesn't and so you're good against them in a way, right? I wanted to do that, and I wanted to do it kind of subtly.
The fact that you did it twice was exactly perfect, I think.
Well, and even then, just mentioning both natural and otherworldly kind of harkens back to that a little bit. It ties in this very boring feature to that theme.
Weight of the Ages.
I feel.
Let's talk Weight of the Ages. I think that this is a. Oh wait, before we even get into the details, Jeremy, this is feels very much like SpongeBob saying to Squidward, "You like Krabby Patties, don't you?"
You like her, don't you? Yeah.
Once you use this bonus action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a 5th level spell slot to use it again. Have you come around on this, or are you just using it because it's a kind of a new convention?
I've got 2 kind of points on it. The first, running away. No. No. My first kind of thought on it is like, I gotta just accept it. You know, this is what they're doing now. I have to just accept that this is part of the game. This is what they're doing, and especially for a feature like this, which is it's a spell, right? Like this is effectively a spell, not a feature in the way most other features work. I thought it made a lot of sense in this one. And actually, many 11th level feature or 14th level features are long rest only for warlocks. I checked them.
That is true. And the spell is cool. I like that it's just. I like the reaction-based economy for it. I feel like warlocks actually. I mean, they get Hellish Rebuke, which is a great spell, but I feel like the Warlock reaction is pretty open. As a rule, this doesn't tax it in any place so far. Giving you something to do with it is fun. It's fun to use your action economy to its fullest extent. The healing makes sense. Actually, the only thing that I'm a little bit off on this again is I like the mechanics of how it works. I think it's well balanced. I like what it does. Is again the flavor, cosmic energies of creation and destruction felt a little bit maybe strong. Like you mentioned that it was a little bit more cosmic before. Is this kind of a remnant of that, or?
No, it's like what I wanted to say, right, is the cosmic energies of life, or the cosmic energies of life and death, but death isn't an energy. And I was just like, I wasn't sure what to say for that first phrase. I know what I wanted. I know the feel I want, but yeah, that language I don't love. I'll be frank.
The force damage thing as well, like in the context. I
thought about that one a lot.
You like the force because for me it's kind of this almost feels like it's hitting a trash druid thing, which is that kind of like time and decay and just like the weight of existence kind of thing, rather than this sort of like reincarnation cycle of life vibe. Like, I don't think that that's necessarily something that is wrong for the way this works. Like the vortex and like the circle. I don't know. I just would like to. It's not hitting me on that life and death thing. It's hitting me on a different thing that's not necessarily
really
what I've been feeling about this so far.
That's really surprising. I really thought that the like life transference feel.
I like that a lot.
Is like that's exactly what I was going for. Of like, yeah, all right, you've all been about like life and healing and whatnot, and now you're like, all right, I gotta buckle down, and because we start off so peaceful, right? It's like, hey, I have lives and they help me, but they help me kill bad things, right? And then, hey, I can see life, probably so that I can ambush them and kill them, right? And then primeval protection's like, I'm protected against bad things. This was kind of the, all right, now you're good at like reclaiming, right, that aberrant life back to the natural cycle is kind of the way I saw it.
I love the word reclaiming.
So maybe that language would be better.
No, like I'm 100% with you on everything that this does.
So maybe you can reclaim the cosmic energies of life. If that were the flavor.
Yeah, like that's a lot closer to like what would make this kind of to work for me. Frosty Pirate was saying doesn't need to be a bonus action, full action, please.
Very intentional choice for bonus action.
Why?
So that you could cast it at the same time as your either Aura of Life or Aura of Purity, which I imagined would be like your core vibes here. I really like these two spells, and I think they're very, very rarely used. Paladins never use these because they can just smite really hard with these, even when they get up to those levels. Or they're at the 5th level spells and they're casting Circle of Power instead. But these are two really, really, really cool spells that like are so in the vibe of this that I don't know. I thought I wanted to be able to cast one of these, which they're action spells, and cast the Weight of Ages in one turn. It's an action economy choice.
I get where Frosty Pirate's coming from on that because it almost feels cooler as an action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also like I can see like I don't think it's necessarily a bad choice, but it could be cool at an action. I like the thought, Frosty. I'm kind of with you on it, but
Frosty was saying
I don't
powering
like...
up it lasts for a minute. I don't know. I was comparing this because the reason I looked at this is honestly this is really powerful for like a Warlock capstone. This is super strong.
I don't see it as like too. I mean, like the thing I'm thinking about in comparison is like Dark Delirium, which is like absolutely like just obliterates a target, and this is like this is more flexible. I don't know, like it felt kind of in line. It's definitely good, no two ways about that. I mean, it's sick. It feels like a capstone.
But I guess so. Just so that I understand, if this were like that flavor text, if they say by the time you reach 14th level, you can reclaim the cosmic energies of life, right? If that were the flavor text, you'd be totally on board with that.
I think for the most part, still though, like the force damage, I'm still a little bit.
What damage type would you suggest? I'm interested because I thought about all of them and. What, poison damage? That doesn't make any sense.
I guess like honestly, like because the thing that it does feels necrotic in nature, but I guess that's wrong for this. But like it almost feels the effect feels like something that should do necrotic damage to me.
Yeah. Well, it does. It is. I mean, the language is straight off of the spell Vampiric Touch, which does necrotic damage.
Do you think that
the reason necrotic, I wouldn't do necrotic?
Yeah. For resistances or for flavor?
Resistances. It wasn't for flavor. I thought it'd be fine flavor-wise for it to be necrotic. The reason I couldn't is the whole point is you kill undead aberrations and constructs with this feature. Good luck killing undead with your necrotic like it's gonna not do anything ever.
Yeah, a lot of undead have.
Yeah. And Radiant
resistances
like could work, but I was again really trying to avoid overlap with Celestial.
Radiant doesn't feel right to me for this either, because of vortex of because it feels like you're taking the life from things around you, and Radiant it just is just to me just divine light, like it's just divine energy, and this seems like a subtraction, which is what necrotic has always felt like to me. Force is the closest other than.
There's nothing like else that works.
The other thing that I could maybe see if like choose an elemental damage as like a substitute, which might tie if you're gonna go heavier into tree, you know. But that's new. I don't know. I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall right now.
Yeah, I mean. Honestly, would you be happier from like it's a flavor issue you're having here, right?
It's entirely a flavor issue. Entirely a flavor
Would you be happier if it said on a failure the creature loses 3d6 hit points and its hit point maximum is decreased by the amount?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm way more into that.
So if a creature lost hit points rather than it dealing damage. You'd be more.
That feels really cool, actually, to me. Do you like that as well?
Yeah, I considered it. I didn't do it because I thought it was just funky. I think there are some weird interactions where because this wouldn't do damage, and there are some weird interactions in the game that I don't know off the top of my head that I know this would, it reducing hit points rather than dealing damage would impact. So I didn't do that for that reason. But if you think that force damage is that big of a hang up, I thought the force damage was an okay, middle ground.
It doesn't destroy the whole thing for me. I'm just saying, like, that's just a thing that I'm thinking about.
Yeah, well, and this is one of those subclasses. I think there's a lot to just think about, which I've been doing a lot of thinking about this.
And then the end of it is 1,000 Lives Pact. I don't know. I have no issue with that.
Yeah,
one free reincarnate. I mean, like, it's only like you reincarnate infinitely, but it's only the true reincarnation guaranteed the first time. I don't know, it's fine. Like, I just don't even feel the need to evaluate that in the context of this. Like I would almost even you might want to put 1,000 Lives Pact note into this somewhere, which is like, this is very much a story tool. And
I could. I don't know. You really think?
I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think it needed a sidebar.
I don't think it's necessary. I think it might benefit from that, but maybe not.
Here's a question I got for you, Pete. And again, you're the Lich here, so you should be the one asking all the questions. But how would you feel if I put this on the first level feature? If at first level you got one free reincarnate. You couldn't do that, right? I wanted to real bad.
I don't know. I feel like if you put that on the feature, it becomes so much different of a. I think that's too far from what a class gives you.
Agreed.
Where at that point you would I feel like at that point 1,000 Life Pact is like a recommended feature because it might not be suitable for every game. This as it stands, I think you can justify it. Just like you're out there somewhere.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, Pete, where am I at? We lost track on the rubric.
Yeah, I started off with the space point because I thought it was free, but we didn't do anything else.
It's close. So hard. The space point. I fought so hard for it.
No, I know. I think you did it.
I earned that one.
For sure. Design point. I have no issue with any of the design here. Balance. It's balanced. I have no issue with the balance. Playability.
Even with the life sense being as limited as it was, you don't think that's a balance stock?
I feel like it being a little underpowered for me isn't a balance issue, frankly.
Okay. I figured the first level feature is a little too strong, actually, which is kind of why I wanted to hold back on 6.
I don't know. I like the first level feature. It doesn't really bother me. I don't know. It's almost like a guidance cantrip. It's kind of how people already use the guidance cantrip. I didn't bring this up at the time. I was thinking about the potential for the interaction with the guidance cantrip being maybe a little bit annoying with this. It might be. I don't know if it's worth doing anything about it. I think people kind of abuse the guidance cantrip in D&D as it is. But
abuse the absolute hell out of it. They do.
But I don't know. I don't see life sense being weak as a balance issue. Playability.
I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah. I just want it to be stronger. Playability, 1,000 Lives Pact is the only thing in here that I would talk about as a playability issue, because putting a thing like this in the game and on the DM and having this extra layer to this class that doesn't exist, you know what I'm talking about, right? You can see why some people would not gel with that.
Yeah.
It's extremely out of convention. We haven't even really talked about Thousand Lives Pact. It's really far out of convention. There's nothing like this in the game where it's just like has this. You come back as the same character. I know that like there are players that are gonna read that, I think, and throw themselves headlong into battle and just like die a lot because then they're like, oh well, I'll come back and I'll just be a different race. And make a new character. Do you think of that as a problem?
Well, it doesn't do that. Like you lose all memory of your current life, and you start like you're just not. You're out of the game. That's the whole purpose of it. This is really a non-feature. Like
yeah, but when you put it as a feature, I think there's going to be tons of players that are going to read it and be like, "Oh, I'm a different character, but I'm still the great tree guy, and I get to keep all my features." You know, like I keep the things that I've been doing and I'm still the same race and class, or I'm still the same class, so I can just kind of come back and rejoin the party and grab my old body's stuff. Like, and even though there are, like it says you lose all members of your current life, so I think that there's, I think that there's a lot of people that, DMs that would just be like, well, why would you go back to this group of people? You don't know them. But then it's also like, kind of, why is it there if that's not going to be the idea that you keep playing the new character?
Gotcha. So here's my, again, like I said, originally this part was part of the first level feature.
Yeah.
If Thousand Lives Pact were at the just take it wholesale and stick it at the end. And we'll just have the reincarnation be entirely in this opening text. Would that like make more sense to you? If we just did not mention it at all, because I think it has to be mentioned somewhere.
Oh
right?
yeah. Well, I also like it, and it's a thing that's flavorful and kind of defines the.
Maybe it needs a little sidebar under it for.
It defines the archetype really that you're going for. I am picking it apart to a certain extent because I think that that's something that, like, I can. You get where I'm coming from on that, right? Like, you can see a lot of problem players trying to just be like, oh well, my Thousand Lives Pact, and interpreting it the way that they want to and pressuring their DM into.
Now, hear me out, Pete. What if this Thousand Lives Pact, right? Instead of being like this, it lost at first level when you gain this feature. We got rid of that text and we put it in an orange note box. Everything else exactly as it is. But it was in a sidebar box.
Yeah, I actually, I don't know if I said that out loud before, but I was actually thinking that Thousand Lives Pack might want to be an optional, like, you might want to play with this feature.
Just be a sidebar. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good change.
And then...
V-Bone is saying, how is Thousand Lives Pact even a feature? Yeah, exactly, V-Bone. It really isn't. It isn't intended to be a feature that grants you any sort of power. It should probably be a sidebar. More than anything else. Yeah,
it makes it, it like changes, by making it a feature, I think it changes the way people will perceive it.
Absolutely. I can totally understand that.
Playability, I don't know, I almost don't want to, like...
I think we dock it for that. I understand.
I don't even know if I want to, because I feel like Thousand Lives Pact, like... it's meant to be the flavor of the thing and like not a feature, and you've kind of like almost explicitly said that it's not a feature. We talked about it at the beginning, and that was the way I was kind of evaluating it, is like Thousand Lives Pact almost isn't a part of this class, and it's just a thing.
Yeah, it's funky. It's right. It's like really all of this language, all of the text is actually fine. It just needs to go in a sidebar, not here.
Yeah,
not listed as a feature.
I would actually probably give you the playability point if you would self-dock. Yeah, I don't know. If you would self-dock yourself for it, then you can take away your point.
No,
but
Pete, you're the Lich.
Yeah, I would give you the point, honestly.
Okay. So what do we got? We got playability. We got design. We got
you're good. The only point left to discuss is probably the most contentious one for me, which is the flavor point. And I don't know. It's cool. It's a cool flavor. I could see myself wanting to play a tree lock. Tree
lock's a good name.
Tree lock. I can see myself wanting to play a tree lock. I just like, it's the thing about the great tree and the connection between the cycle of life and like the great tree and other things that are non-trees. I don't know. I'm
Would
very
you like
much...
me to call it Otherworldly Patron the circle of life?
The circle of life.
Right, like, obviously, it has to be something that is
It has to be a tangible thing.
Yeah, it has to be a tangible thing that is a personification for, the circle of life, for that spirit of life. And maybe that's called the spirit of life, but
that feels like a little bit almost cop-outy to me.
Yeah. Got so much less flavor than the great tree.
The great tree.
Oh, the great pumpkin, Matty Morgs. You got it. Boom.
Great pumpkin. Like, what if you just made it like it's gotta be a great tree? Like, is there anything wrong with that?
Well, even if we did, right? Even if that's what we did, right? That still doesn't reconcile the tree with the reincarnation thing that you seem to that's a disconnect you have, right?
Yeah. The tree is also a disconnect. It's like, I don't know, it's difficult because I definitely agree, it's the best thing that I can't think of a better thing for it. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of a better way of saying it than you already have, but it still doesn't quite, it still doesn't 100% translate for me. I don't know. I think by my reckoning, I have to dock you the flavor point.
Interesting. All right, very well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jeremy. I'm sorry it had to be this way. That's where I'm at.
I mean, Pete, you're the one who's going to have to sleep with it.
Yeah. And it's the
I get it. I understand.
It's the weight of the ages thing too. It's not just like the intro thing. Also the creation and destruction thing and weight of the ages. There seems to be a little disconnect there too.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, that's my thought. That's where I'm at. 4 points, Jeremy. I'm giving you the solid 4 out of 5.
Yeah, and I think, and I'd like to just follow up. So, if I made a more general, kind of lame one, called it the spirit of creation, I still mentioned these specific trees and things in this text. Like, I really don't change much of the text here, and I say reclaiming, the energies of life. Does that completely resolve your flavor issues, or do you still have flavor issues?
Close to that. Because I think the other thing that's missing out of the great tree and the flavor of this is like what a great tree, like you've mentioned some great trees, but like I would like a little bit more information, like profound manifestation of life. What is a profound manifestation of life? Like, what does a great tree do? Like, what truly is a great tree? And or whatever it is, the thing that you go with, you know? So I would also like, if there's going to be amendments to that, I would like a little bit more detail on what the actual thing is.
Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying. I was trying to keep it to like 2 paragraphs, like everything else. Yeah. Like all of the other warlocks. I mean, I could write you like a page of lore about what this patron is, but I wanted to keep it more open-ended.
A couple more. I mean, even a couple more sentences. I think you could go like, because you know, profound manifestation of life often take the form of gargantuan trees. Like, what does it mean for something to be a profound manifestation of life? Like a little bit about like I could see like how it influences the how it like influences the space around it. Like, can you like where is it? Is it like can you have a patron that's does a great tree patron have to be a specific one? Is it on like your plane? Like, I think like a couple extra sentences about defining like what it means to be a profound manifestation of life, because I don't know if that's like a completely rooted concept.
Gosh, you and the puns.
I realized it after I said it, and I didn't like that it happened.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying, Pete. I can follow. I was trying to intentionally keep it a little more open-ended, so that a player who was playing this might, I guess, might decide like, hey, I mean, like you brought up the trash druid yesterday or earlier, right? It's like, you know, a trash druid, a druid, oh, not a druid, a warlock, like might be like just inspired by something. Maybe it's like, you know, oh, it's like a heap of garbage in this industrial like wasteland, but you know, the rats and the scavenging birds and this life grows up there and kind of inspires them, and that's kind of where they draw this power to a degree. It's to protect that kind of concept. I was trying to leave it very open-ended, right? It's the idea of you see this thing that like strikes you, and you want like that. You're making an almost like a God. I'm afraid I'm getting too close to the oath. Oh no, Paladins.
Yeah. Well, there's also like I feel like there's also a difference of making a pact with a tree, in that like other things, like is it like a conscious being? Because other things sort of like a devil. It's very. I understand what a pact with the devil is. I don't as much understand what a pact with a tree is.
Yeah, it's true. Most other pacts are with a very, very specific entity. I totally understand.
It's a very sentient thing.
Yeah. Like I said, that issue you're having there comes from the way too big grasp I started with, and I've shrunk this way down to even get to the point where it is. So,
yeah.
I was very much aware this could be a problem. I'll take
that's the great tree. Yeah, we could talk a lot more about I think some of the details on it, but we also have we haven't taken a break yet tonight, and I think that's where we leave off on the great tree. Do you have any closing thoughts about the great tree, Jeremy?
Yeah, chat. I really like all the ideas you guys were sprouting out there. All of your thoughts on it. Yeah, that's all. It's nice to hear some other people's considerations and thoughts. I totally agree with what Frost was saying. Making this an action feels way cooler, and you were saying it as well, Pete. But like sprouting, oh, I've done it now, Pete. No, yeah. God, I just like the idea of the tree. It was such a cool concept. Oh well, I think it still works.
I agree. I like it. I would play it. That's LICH'S LAIR. Hit the button.
Wait, the button only goes in, Pete.
Wait, before we hit the button, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. We're going to do some stuff, go over some stuff from Reddit. We have some goofy stuff to look at. We probably won't do both the subclasses I looked at, probably just one. We'll see what we end up having time for, but we'll be back in like 5. See you all very shortly.
See you soon.